Still gonna act surprised.
Nice. This is the Submission Piracy Toddcast number 5 with Steve Rivetti.
Cinco.
And myself, Todd Jensen. Welcome, Steve.
Welcome, Todd.
All right. So in 2007, there was a guy walking through the door at Raizu Martial Arts on Lake Ave in Bristol, where I was training. Comes through the door. Looks familiar. Oh, hey, bud. How you doing? Good to see you. Kevin Estela. Oh, God, that's right. Because he was, he was a freshman. I was a senior. I was badass.
Seniority.
Who's this guy?
Yeah.
He was bigger than me and everything. So I was like, oh, okay. Hey, what's up, dude? So, our instructor, Guru Rich, saw what we were talking. And he's like, oh, guess what? Who you're working with, forever. And I am honored to have been with and working alongside Kevin for many years. So I didn't have to teach Kevin much. We just some hands, some this and that, some kicks, and I still have our belt tests on video on like small those little discs, Sony micro discs or whatever they're called. So I have some of that, but we go back since 2007. We've been training ever since. He's my longest standing training partner, and it is an honor, a complete honor to have him here in the studio today. Welcome, Kevin Estela.
Thank you, Todd Jensen. I appreciate you having me here.
Thanks for coming up. Kevin is a survivalist, outdoors enthusiast, educator, martial artist, magazine contributor, amongst many things.
History teacher.
Yeah. That was my major as well.
I remember that.
Love history. Actually, so you were smart. What did you get in your SATs?
Oh, dear God. I don't even think I broke 1100.
Okay.
I think it was 1080.
750, brah.
Really?
Okay.
But you know what? It's one test.
I know. So here's the thing. Not everybody's a mathematician, science, or English person, right? I was more of a science, history person. So
which is a weird mix.
It kind of is, I guess. But that's what I excelled in.
Yeah.
The SATs didn't care. Steve, what'd you get in your SATs?
The number 5.
You got a 5?
No, man, I have no idea what I got on my SATs, legit. And I didn't work. I just didn't do the work. So
okay, well, I
feel like I'm a relatively educated.
But here's the thing,
eloquent.
There's a certain button in your life that gets pushed when you have to learn to apply yourself. It's like through high school. I mean, you see your high school teacher. You see your the students who coast.
I coasted.
Yeah, see,
I coasted so I can spot the coasters all day long.
Oh yeah, coast because dude, it's either hang out with your girlfriend after school.
Oh yeah,
or study. Okay.
There's but are there different types of coasters? There's like the coaster that is like, grades, that's easy. I'll get A's on everything, and they coast. And then there's the coasters that are like, I'm going to do the bare fucking minimum and just like squeak. That's me.
Yeah, me too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then the coaster does either one of two things. Either they coast and they continue to coast until they completely slow down, or at some point that just light bulb goes off and they're like, you know what, maybe I should apply myself. And then suddenly they are masters at whatever they want.
Yeah, then they skyrocket.
Because they finally can do what they love doing as opposed to what they have to do. Like you mentioned, I'm a writer. SAT didn't have a lot of writing. But guess what? When I could apply myself in an essay, that was my strength as a student.
Awesome.
So, yeah, there's that door thing.
Yeah, that door thing. Sorry.
Door thing.
Yeah. Hey, shut up.
We don't care that you're doing your kickboxing workout.
All right. So we talked about our martial arts journey together. Kevin was, behind me in high school. So we knew each other there. But also when I was in pharmaceuticals, I used to call on his dad, who is, I guess, still practicing.
Still practicing, 81 years old, frontline worker in the healthcare field. He's a physician. He will not stop working until the day he dies.
Dude, that's legit. He's 81 and he's dealing with COVID.
Yeah.
So is he actually dealing with like?
Yeah, he works at walk-in clinics in Waterbury, right, urban area. So urban populations we know are getting hit harder than the rural populations. And they love him because he's just that old school doctor that will tell you how it is. He's not out to push any pharmaceuticals or anything like that. He doesn't like prescribing people drugs. He always tells them like natural remedies. He says, go out, take a walk. And they always come back. So yeah, he just believes that he was put on this earth for a purpose. He's going to continue serving that purpose until the day he dies. And, you know, he's just old school like that. You know, that's that work ethic that I think is the hardest thing to teach.
Yeah, sure.
You know, which explains my restless ass. You know, when it comes to certain things, people are like, "How do you do that?" I'm up at 4:30. You know, and I get going.
Good for you.
Yeah,
4:30 is that's like some Jocko stuff right there.
I'm also half Polish, so like when you tell me I can't do something, I'm stubborn. I'm just gonna keep going.
All right.
You know.
Okay.
Hell yeah, man.
I like it. I'm a little Polish too. A little bit, like an eighth. But it's because my grandfather was a Cossack in the Russian army, and he got driven out of the country by the Bolsheviks, and just riding through Poland just happened to pick up my great grandmother.
Did some things.
Came to the country. All right, so Kevin and I we went to Raizu, and at Raizu there was 2 different family systems of Kali, Sayakali, Atienza Kali. So we took a parallel journey. Okay, he really focused on Sayoc, and I started focusing more on Atienza. And Atienza is more, I think, long blade oriented, sword evolutions, and Sayoc's got transition drills and more short blade. But from my experiences, Sayoc is fairly deep. I mean, a lot of like brain work, things like that. God, you guys were doing like caravanning, like you would train like when Pamana Tuhan would fly in or drive in from out of town, and they would have like, eagle has landed. All right, you're in the back. I don't know. I'm not gonna divulge any secrets, but like they would like have radios and stuff, and like they were prepping that way, and it was just like it's not just a martial art; it was like a way of life. And Kevin's he was really digging that. And, and I saw him just continue to flourish throughout this system, and, going to Samas and, working with the different Tuhans. And it's just really impressive to watch, you come up through the ranks in Sayoc. And, but I do have a question for you. Steve and I talk about jiu-jitsu and how open it is and how everybody shares everything. And other martial arts, including Kali, are not that way. Very secretive, very close to the chest. So I'm going to ask you, Kevin, why did Pamana Tuhan keep Sayakali so close to the chest?
So one of the reasons why it's so close to the chest is because of the history of the islands. I mean, thousands and thousands of islands in the Philippines. Long-standing tradition of occupation. The Portuguese with Magellan. Well, Magellan had his head cut off. Battle of Lapu-Lapu was pretty awesome. Yeah. The Spanish, the Americans, the Japanese, then eventually, there were little skirmishes here and there from island to island. So essentially the system was held close to the chest because it provided that family safety. And yes, Sayoc is incredibly deep. I mean, my good friend, Lieutenant Mike, he jokes, he says, Filipino martial artists are preppers posing as martial artists. He's like, you're survivalists. Like, you guys know more about AR-15s than the average guy. And it's true. Like, we understand that there's multiple levels of defense and protection and offense, and you can't just limit yourself to one range. But Pamana Tuhan, the late Pamana Tuhan, he was very protected because it was his namesake. And just like IPD is your namesake and, Estela is mine, I don't want my name dragged through the dirt. I don't want to have what I do being taken advantage of by people that shouldn't have it. So we do have a very strong vetting process of people before they participate in our system. We want to know that person is responsible enough to carry on the legacy of hundreds of years, thousands of years of family history. So that's why it's so protected.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's it goes deeper than just some hobby.
Yeah, and keep in mind too, Kali, bladed art. I could teach someone an armbar. I could teach someone a Kimura, an Americana. And the worst that happens is someone dislocates a joint, they break someone's arm. I teach someone a few moves with a bladed system, and in the wrong hands, there are bodies on the ground.
It's game. It's game over.
Game over.
And in certain circumstances, I would say that would be the correct answer.
Yeah.
But it's not the answer that is the one that you should always go to when there could be a less lethal answer. So we're very protective of it. We want to make sure that the right people are teaching it. And we test regularly. We always say we test all the time, because any moment you could prove that you're doing something incorrectly, and now maybe you need to take a step back.
Right.
You know, so we want to make sure our guys are top notch.
Guru Rich always talked about that. Guru
Testing
Rich is
all the
always
time.
like, dude, you're always testing.
Character. You're big on integrity and character all the time. We've had a lot of talks about that.
Huge.
Yeah.
You know, because you can't. Those types of people don't fit in here. They just won't. You know, and that just comes from my upbringing from Guru Rich. Like they just won't fit in. You know, you got to be here to make each other better.
Yeah.
And, you know, fit into the family and the tribe. You know, and that's how it works. So, all right, I want to get to your book.
Yeah.
All right, The 101 Skills You Need to Survive in the Woods by Kevin Estela. However, I do want to wish a very special happy birthday to that beautiful sister of yours, Wendy Estela. Okay, happy birthday, Wendy. I'm not hitting on her. It could, well, a little bit. Okay, but I love my wife. I do. Okay.
I think that you're actually digging yourself deeper right now.
Shit.
That's what's happening.
So I'm gonna sit next to my wife on the couch. She's gonna go
5-star across the face.
Just joking. Happy birthday, Wendy. All right, so now we're getting to the book.
There's a lot of bookmarks in that book, man. I mean,
dude, I went through this. There's some good stuff in here,
there
man.
is.
This is a great book. So before we get to the book, like out of curiosity, just pure curiosity, like, dude, how do you even get published? Like, how do you even say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and write a book, and then find somebody to publish the book, and then before you know it, you got a #1 seller on Amazon? You know, like, because it is. Like, how does that work?
Well, I can tell you the path that I took, or I can tell you like the basic response, and that's
I want
you
your
can either
path.
my path. I had someone recommend me.
Damn it.
I had someone recommend me that knew that I was a writer already.
Again, I know people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing: tribe, right? I mean, you have your close knit tribe, you have extended tribe. My friend Craig Caudill, he appears on that book in the back. He runs Nature Reliance School, martial artist, amazing martial artist, good dude. You should reach out to him so you can get him on the Toddcast. He wrote a book through that company, and he said, "Hey, you guys need to talk to Kevin. He's a good writer. He's written a bunch of magazine articles, and
Magazine.
he's actually in there.
He is.
We're in the same
Okay.
art. We're in the same article.
Very cool.
And he goes, yeah, reach out to them. So I reached out to them. They reached out to me. We started talking. They said, well, what would you want to write about? And I noticed this was my little writer's hack. I looked at the other books that were being published by Page Street Publications, and most of them were cookbooks. And it was like 101 backyard barbecue recipes, 50 cocktails, 109.
Can you just stop right there? All that sounds great. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Well,
But see, that's what people are going to buy.
right, but I knew that that's what they were tracking.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that they liked titles that had numbers in them. And it's true. Like, you go through anything on social media and you're drawn to, here are the 5 most incredible action heroes of all time. And you're going to
in my
click
business, they call those listicles.
Yeah.
And my God,
Did you?
they're
What did you
everywhere.
say?
No, that's the name, listicles.
Okay, I thought you said something else. Sorry.
No, no, they call them listicles. It's like list article.
Yeah.
That is still fucking BuzzFeed. And what it does is it's like it basically takes it and not only is it the lists, but it's also the quizzes.
Yeah.
That's the other part of it. That's like the people just, what fucking Disney character are you, or what it could be what survivalist are you?
Yeah,
whatever are you? What martial artist are you? It's like that's what people gravitate towards right now. Online,
So I got the email about the listicle. I said, hey, I'll write a book. And they're like, well, give us a few ideas. And I said, how about a 101? And I figured 101 because that's like college level, entry level course. I figured this is an entry level book. I'm going to stick with 101.
Yeah.
I said, how about 101 skills? And I didn't want to do 101 facts. I didn't want to do 101 gear items. I'm known for teaching skills. I said, I am teaching skill in this book. I'll let people focus on what knife they want to carry, whatever. I'm like, I don't care about that as much as people having the skill. So they're like, oh yeah, give us a list of 101 when you get a chance. Now I got that email on the New York Thruway driving up to Marty's property up in upstate New York. And I stopped and I'm like, all right, here we go. And I sat, this was in like February of 2018. And I was like, all right, no, 17. I'm like, here's my list. And I wrote out the list on my phone. I sent them the list. Next thing you know, they're like, can you get us a sample chapter? I wrote them the sample chapter. I decided to write the hardest chapter first, which was navigation. Mm-hmm. They're like, we love it. April comes around. I didn't hear from them. They're like, oh, we had a little bit of an issue. We're ready to go. Do you want to do this? Here's the contract. I'm like, sure. Then they said, well, you seem to be a good writer. You pump out a lot of magazine articles. Do you think you can get this whole thing done in 3 months? I'm like, I was like, yeah, Jesus. I got this. So
you were just like, I got it.
I would have been stressed.
You just said you got it. You were like, you got it.
Well, he's probably got a lot of stuff already written out that he can, because he's a teacher.
Did you have it? A lot of stuff?
No, quite honestly, here's what I did.
In your face,
I made that up.
So you want to talk about Sayoc, right? So in Sayoc, we're problem solvers. We have a lot of mindset training that we do. And I said, all right, how can I break up 101 over 3 months? Well, it's simple. 3 months, 101. That's roughly 30 skills I have to write per month, right? So I wrote 30 skills per month. I realized, all right, how many weeks are there per month? And then I broke it down. I'm like, this is how many skills I have to crush every single week. So I did that, and I built in time to have review. So I actually did it in like 2 months, like 3 weeks. And then, I submitted that. I originally submitted them 101,000 words. I wanted in the back of my head, something was like, I want 100,000 words because it would be cool. Like I wrote 100,000 words. They then got back to me and they're like, yeah, you need to cut this down by a third. And I almost had a heart attack because you think about your communication, like I love you, 3 words, cut a third out of that, right? Love you. It's not the same, So I had to cut it down. I finally got down to around 80,000 and I said, I'm running with that. I can't do anything more. So like, fine, we'll do 80,000. We'll extend the book a little bit. And now I just have to go super heavy with photos and with drawings. And
it's a great book. It's legit. I love it. So let's get to the book.
Yeah.
So I noticed first, you have your shout outs and what do they call it? These reviews kind of thing, or recommendations by people.
Yeah, recommendations.
So the first one that stands out, Joel Lambert, former Navy SEAL and Discovery Channel host. I mean, that's the guy's on TV.
Yeah.
Giving you a great review, and I'm not going to read the review here because you have to buy the book. Buy the book, Amazon. Okay, so I have a bunch of stuff here, but we're going to get right to the forward. And this really stuck out to me. And you got this really cool picture in here of Kevin. He's like, he's hard ass, he's out in the wilderness.
Yeah.
Handsome.
Iceland.
It was in Iceland. I knew that.
Game of Thrones stuff right there.
So, author's forward. A quick drive to the store can turn into a survival situation. At any time, you can find yourself in a life-threatening emergency that will have one of two outcomes. You will either address the problem in front of you and survive, or you will fail and die. Holy shit. Like, how about, that's good. How you start a book. Like, okay, so here, do it and live.
It's called The Hook.
Oh, that's what that is. Yeah. Okay. Very cool. But like that, that's it's profound. It's like, it's true. It's like, so when we talk about in jiu-jitsu, it's like, okay, so you have this problem in front of you. Are you just going to tap, or are you going to figure a way out of it?
Exactly.
And this is a lot deeper than that, but continuing on, keep in mind as you read this book that there were plenty of people who died for these skills. Many emergency and survival lessons have been paid for in blood. Frostbitten fingers, broken bones, exposure, and death. We must learn from the mistakes made, make adjustments, and keep history from repeating itself in our life's timeline. That's pretty, dude, like when you think about, oh, cool, survival. Somebody ate the wrong berry.
Yeah,
somebody didn't dress warm enough. And it was a potentially, it happened. A horrible, fatal consequence.
Mm-hmm.
So, that really stuck out to me. And it was just like, wow, you just got to look at this from a whole different, aspect, of survival. And it's like, oh, cool, bushcraft. Well, bushcraft doesn't really speak to me as much as survival.
Oh, yeah.
No Oh my gosh. Back to the book. Since these fears impact the outcome of our survival, how do we manage them and keep a level head? That seems like jujitsu.
Yeah, it sounds like jujitsu.
Interesting.
How many times have you been in a quote unquote stressful situation and you're like, this is not bad. I don't have someone trying to choke me. I don't have someone trying to break my ankle. Like, you're calling that like stressful, painful, difficult? Really?
Yeah.
Like, that's your idea of difficult.
Right.
Can we just difficult?
Yeah.
You know,
It's all
relative.
just all levels. Yeah. It's all relative. So logic requires no emotional input. There is no place for it. We need to think about why we fear and what we fear. If we think about our fears this way, we can create a plan to deal with them.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? But like, until you read those words, you're like, oh, wow, that's profound.
Words matter.
Of course, it's very profound. And so you look at that and go, wow, I got this mortgage coming up. I can pay it, but I really don't have the money. Or I could put a plan in place where I work some extra hours, get that money, and pay the mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
So either let the problem run me, or I run the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of thing. So this is fantastic. You have in here positive mental attitude, PMA.
Yeah, the cliche survival PMA thing. Everyone talks about it.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Positive mental attitude. So what's your take on that?
It's from my dad. Keep in mind, my dad grew up in the Philippines, 41 to 45, living in the jungle, Japanese occupation, living in a cave. And when I was a little kid, I'll never forget this. I was 5 years old. And I remember my dad, there was a period in my life where I would say that I was definitely like a spoiled brat until I had this awakening. It was 5 years old. I was in Woolkit and I was on the way to Toys R Us up in Waterbury, right? And I remember
that place.
Hell yeah, that was like the greatest place
That's
ever.
the closest one around. So yeah, that's great.
And I remember I said something, I was complaining, and my dad had this moment where he just did like the dad voice. He goes, when I was your age, I made my toys. And I remember that hit me so hard at 5. I never forgot that. And I said, I got to realize what matters in this world at this point, So growing up, and even to this day, he'll say, when you wake up, be thankful that you're able to walk across the room. Be thankful that you can see the ceiling. Be thankful that you can hear the alarm clock, because there are people that would kill to be in your shoes. And that kind of leveled me. And being able to travel and see the world and see things, it's like, granted, the world can be a shitty place. There's no doubt about it. We see the worst of humanity on the nightly news, but we also, if we look closely, we'll see the best of humanity. And some people would kill to have what we have right now, regardless of what people say.
Yep.
So that's what really, really just kind of leveled me. And I said, you know what? When I'm writing this book and I'm talking about PMA, yeah, you're stuck out in the woods overnight. Big deal. Consider it a time away from your husband or time away from your wife or whoever it may be, like be thankful for what you have. You have clothes, the whole naked and afraid thing, not my jam.
Darn.
Because I would never do
so
that.
looking forward to that.
They've tried. They've tried. I refuse. So my dad, my dad.
Sure.
My dad's like, naked and afraid. They're idiots. He goes, you don't walk through the jungle barefoot. And this is coming from an 81-year-old guy who lived in the jungle.
Right.
He goes, you don't walk through the woods. You don't walk that way barefoot. He goes, whoever lets, and you got to remember this, whoever volunteers or who lets a producer make you walk through the jungle like that, they're a little foolish. And I was like, okay, I guess that's your standards. It's so true.
Yeah. Well, I saw something here having to do with PMA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, positive mental attitude, and you bring it back to fishing.
Hell yeah.
And I'm calling bullshit on this. Calling bullshit. Okay. I'm going to read this. Even when you face a setback, like losing a fish,
It sucks.
reframe the experience. Be proud you hooked it, and tell yourself you'll catch another. I've never had that experience. I've gotten the fish off and I'm like, mother! Slamming stuff around. I'm like, that thing was huge.
Man. Yeah, that was the biggest one. Biggest one in the pond was the one that you didn't land.
But I understand what you mean. Just look, listen, okay, you got the fish. At least that day, even if you don't catch another fish, you had another fish on, you can hook it, you played it a little bit, it got off, wasn't your day.
But see, this ties back to martial arts,
Sure.
right? In Sayoc, we call that leakage. Right. Big idea here. Like this is, again, where people say, oh my God, Sayoc is like next level because we take things to a next level. We always talk about thoughts, words, and deeds. 3 things: thoughts, words, deeds. Mind your thoughts, they become your words, right? This goes back to Lao Tzu, ancient philosophy. If you're thinking it, you're going to say it. And if you say it, it's eventually going to manifest itself in your actions. And it's so easy to let that leakage ruin your day and affect you, right? Like, you've heard people say like, oh yeah, if you smile, every word sounds differently. And that's true, right? Like, I get it. But you think about that, like, you may now not want to go fishing because of a bad experience in the past. So you don't let that out. You don't let that leakage out. You hold that in, you let it burn, and you just keep pushing forward, So that's our mindset.
Yeah, but you talk about mindset now. Now let's get into the feeder mindset.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have it in here too. So you say Monog Rich, and I know he's Monog now, but he'll always be Guru Rich.
I know. That's how we knew him.
Yep. So Guru Rich was the idea. He gave you the idea of the feeder mindset. In blade training, the feeder is the person in control of the situation. Okay. The feeder is an optimist who can reframe any situation as a learning experience instead of being a victim or someone who dwells on negativity. And how many times in life have we, gone through that? Someone who dwells on negativity. That's not a feeder mindset. No, you got to look at the positives. You got to turn these things around. You got to look like COVID, okay, pandemic. You got to look at this. And I tell Steve this all the time. If the pandemic never hit, we wouldn't be doing this right now.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
Chris Beatty gave me the idea. He's like, dude, you should do a podcast. I would have never done this. And now we're all sitting here because of the pandemic. I was like,
and when the pandemic ends, we'll still be doing this.
Yeah, and it makes you stronger.
I hope.
God willing, man.
God willing. Well, like, seriously, but that's totally true, man. That's totally true.
Oh,
like,
man.
taking that opportunity, that mindset, and like understanding that like you need to shut down that negative impulse. Like, just shut it down.
And it's something like when you're among other people that have that same language, right? That shared language, that shared understanding, right? Sayoc people. We'll say to each other, check your leakage, right? And that means like, we know what's going on there. Like, don't let that happen. We can use language that transcends, Connecticut, New York, California. Like, I could call someone right now and have a discussion all about concepts, and they would totally get it. So that's what draws a lot of people, because concepts are universal. That's how I wrote that book. I said I can apply feeder mindset to survival. And there are so many people that write from a receiver mindset, and they're trying to get people to believe that it's always the worst case scenario. It's like, you don't have to practice those skills because you're planning for doom and gloom. You can practice those skills so you can enjoy yourself with your family.
Right.
But again, it's all perspective.
It is. But it's a good perspective, that you turn around and you look at it the right way instead of, that negativity that Guru Rich was talking about.
That's a good point. Like what you talk when you talk about like the survival books, of which I have many books, and I just ordered yours as we've been talking here on Amazon. I just legit was like, yeah, fuck it, I'm ordering. But it is true. Like the ones that I own that are, and I've got ones from different authors, some of whom I have a couple of them, and it's all fear based. And I, I'm interested in reading yours because it sounds like there's a twist on that where it's not as much a fear based. I mean, the thing is, like, to come at it from like, again, worst case scenario. The worst case scenario, you're going to do shit that people won't write about in books. You know what I mean? Like when we're talking about the real deal, like streets on fire and pushing shopping carts down the highway and chuds and whatever other crazy things are going to happen.
Yeah.
But like that's cool. That's very cool. We'll take that mindset piece of it is really big. That's really big.
Let's turn our focus towards the Wilderness Learning Center.
Yeah.
Okay. I know recently you lost Marty.
Mm-hmm.
I felt for you. I did.
It sucked.
I do.
It really did.
Marty was his instructor at the Wilderness Learning Center.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to speak for you, but to my knowledge, Marty had a very big impact on Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk a little bit about Marty. Okay.
Badass.
Hey, a badass, right? Vietnam
Such a badass. Like, we think we're bad. Like, oh my God, I could tap people out. Like, Marty did stuff that people will remember for centuries because, I mean, he fought in the Vietnam War. He was infantry, but he specialized in EOD. And when he was over there, he was the booby trap expert. Unbelievable man. Marty, after many years of being in the the military in Vietnam. He came back and his MOS was to be a military survival instructor. So it wasn't like he just went to a school and said, I'm survival trained by the military. This is the guy that wrote the book. One of the things I forgot to mention in a recent article I wrote about him, when he was in Vietnam, his first assignment was to stay on a boat before he could get into combat and make a book for downed airmen and guys that are behind enemy lines of all the edible plants that you can eat in Vietnam.
Jeez.
So like he did amazing stuff.
That's a different world.
Yeah.
Different world.
When I first took Marty's class, this gives you an idea of like where his mindset was. And here's the thing, Marty was never Sayoc trained. Marty was the type of guy that said, I've got my 357 revolver and he's got plenty of experience pulling the trigger on people. Like he was like, gun fu guy, right?
Yeah, sure.
But he was also the guy when you shook his hand.
Gun fu.
Yeah.
Gun kata. Fucking gun kata like Equilibrium.
When you shook Marty's hand, you were like, this dude could tear me apart.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like he had old man strength. We've talked about that. Like, don't mess with the old men. They've lived that long for a reason. But yeah, he was the type of guy, Army survival instructor, Vietnam vet, combat vet, which he always made the distinction of saying, he's like, I was in combat, and I won't go into some of the details out of respect, but he did some stuff. He came back, he did the Army career, and then he said, I'm going to start a civilian survival school, Wilderness Learning Center. He started teaching down pilots, like just in case of like their aircraft were to go down. He eventually started teaching the Job Corps kids. So he had a heart of gold, opened it up. And I eventually met him in 2006, took his class, 2006. He told the story of being abandoned by the military in Vietnam for 13 days because he went out, he was a specialist in nighttime ambushes. So he would go out, and one time he came back and the entire forward like operating base where he was disappeared. And what happened was, imagine that you go out with all your guys.
That's ludicrous.
My dad would say your butthole's hanging out like an apple.
Oh
core.
yeah. I'll get to the butthole thing in a second. So he goes out, he comes back, and the whole base is gone. And what happened, he found out later on. Well, I'll get to that in a second. So for 13 days, he's hiding in Vietnam. The only thing he ate in Vietnam for 13 days were pineapples and radishes. That was it. Pineapples and radishes. Jesus. He said, speaking of buttholes, what came out of him made him never want to eat pineapples ever again.
Well, what is it about pineapple? Isn't there something, there's like...
It's good for the hoo-ha.
Well, I mean...
That's what I heard.
I don't know. I mean, I don't have a
But clearly Marty didn't have a hoo-ha.
Well, I don't have a hoo-ha.
Well, he got back to the base. They eventually found them. And what happened was, when Marty was away, he was in a small group, small detachment. And when he got back, he spoke to the commanding officer, and the commanding officer said, while you guys were away, there was a larger group that got in trouble and we all had to go. And in the military, they have a concept called mission men, right? The mission is more important than the men, and sometimes there are acceptable losses.
Sure.
Well, Marty was deemed an acceptable loss. They actually drew papers to write him as missing in action to send home.
Jesus.
And he,
so
that Marty was like, "Hey guys, I'm back."
That doesn't sit well.
How about that paperwork?
But yeah, he was an unbelievable individual. Awesome. I taught with him from 2007 to 2012. He was a great supporter of mine. He was like a stepfather. He called me his adopted Filipino-Polish son. I saw him every single year. He got mad last year. I missed, and I this bothers me. I would call him on Father's Day because he lost his son to lung cancer. And after he lost his son to lung cancer, I told all my good friends that are all close with him, we said, we're now his sons. And I missed calling him last year. I was in the middle of traveling on Father's Day. And being Marty, typical Marty Army guy, he gave me shit. Next time I saw him, he's like, yeah, my so-called Filipino-Polish son didn't even call me on Father's Day. But that's Marty. Like, he was really an incredible individual, and I would not be who I am today without him.
Wow,
so,
that's powerful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did want to discuss Marty and give him a shout out.
Yeah.
Because I know he meant a lot to you, and he's part of your story.
100%.
Yeah.
He tempers my tone for survival. Like, no spiritualism, no nonsense. It's like skills. That's what he was big on.
Yeah.
So, and probably because Marty taught you these 10 essential needs, we're going to get to this, okay? Number 1, cutting needs. Pocket knife, folding saw, belt knife, chopping tool. Number 2, fire starting needs. Number 3, hydration needs. That should probably be number 1. Number 4, shelter. 5, signaling. 6, trauma first aid. So important. Number 7, cordage. Not like you're used to, Steve, but cordage. 8, navigation needs. 9, illumination needs. You got to be able to see. And 10, food. I can't believe food is last. That's crazy. But, so there's a big portion of these skills that I'm not going to go over because you got to buy the book.
Buy the book.
All right.
Seriously. Just buy the book.
Steve just bought it when he was here. It's like one click, done.
Look, if I can one click buy the book, you can one click buy the book.
Nice.
By the way, I love that it's all highlighted. Like, you are such a student for life.
Oh, yeah.
It's awesome.
Listen, if you're going to be good at something, be a student of it.
It's like a second book. There's so many fucking Post-it notes or whatever in that book. It's like you have 2 books instead of 1 right now.
It is
I
pretty
dig
incredible.
it. I dig it.
Listen,
Hey, student, man. You're a student.
So
Stay the student.
There was this wilderness survival guy that I'm friends with. He told me preparedness is very important.
Yeah.
So we're doing this. So this is knife skills. We're going to get into knife skills. Okay. This is really near and dear to my heart because knives are really cool. A knife is the most important tool you can have in the woods.
Correct.
People don't think about that. They're like, well, I'm going to have, especially Naked and Afraid. But no, it's funny. Naked and Afraid, one person magically has a knife and one person magically has something to start fire. They're like, oh, I got. It's like, okay, so you weren't directed to do that at all.
Are you saying that the knife is the most important thing, or is Kevin saying the most important thing is the knife?
I'm reading Kevin's words.
You read them right now?
Yes.
All right, cool.
In the 101 skills you need to survive in the woods by Kevin Estela. Shameless plug.
That was it. That was like the 3rd plug.
All right.
Where's on Amazon?
So, you know what's cool? Kevin says knives satisfy our primal needs.
Yeah.
Let that sink in. Primal needs.
Yeah,
so
sure.
not just to eat, but to kill.
Yeah.
Sometimes killing to eat.
That stuck out for me. I was like,
Hell yeah.
damn. They can be used for defense, and they can help us build tools to prolong our lives. If you don't want to get cut, don't cut in the direction of your body parts. Hole.
Ding, ding, ding.
It's like, but dude, I can't tell you how many people in my life, and I know for a fact you've seen it because you teach survival training, that people, they start cutting towards themselves, or they're doing this because it's a shortcut, and it's all of a sudden, you imagine that you get cut out in the woods and you got no trauma surgeon, you got nobody to help you, there's no triage.
I think about that shit all the time, about getting like an accidental arterial cut in the middle of the woods.
Dude.
Like, can you fucking imagine that?
Carry a tourniquet.
And there's things like you can have I'm a fan of tourniquets. I'm a fan of this, SWAT tees. I'm a fan of the Israeli bandages. I love all that stuff. But and even like what are they called? Like Sayoc or Quick Clot, all that kind of stuff, right? But that, regardless of any of that, that is terrifying. If you're out 2 days out, 3 days out, and if you're just on a fun backpacking trip, and all of a sudden you slip with a fucking blade, man, that's why you have to have blade skills.
Well, I need Kevin with me.
Here's the cheap and dirty way of this. And this comes from my buddy Tony Nestor. He says, if you want people to not cut their legs, have them cut with their elbows on their thighs. At most, they're going to cut a finger.
Yeah, perfect.
And you think about it, it's like
That
makes
awesome.
total sense.
It's
That's
like
awesome.
put your
That's
elbows on
awesome.
your thighs, dude. Start
That's
carving.
awesome.
I like
Right?
that.
Don't
Yep.
do it up here because then they're going to go. And they're going to self-inflict.
Oh, yeah, just hit the femoral. No big deal.
No big deal. I got another one.
You got 2 minutes.
Yeah. A little shower.
And that's the thing. A lot of people don't realize you get cut mostly on your fingers.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, look at your hands. You could probably find scars on them from stupid stuff.
So a wise man once said, much like a firearm, you should know the status of your blade, and that should include its location. Reducing the number of places it could be to 2 is the first step in demonstrating good blade discipline. Okay, so knowing where it is. And that's funny because I have today some stuff for you to review for me.
Hell yeah.
Okay. Number 1. I want you to tell me if this is any good.
That's the Buck General.
It is the Buck General. This thing's from like the 1960s.
Yeah.
My dad gave it to me. So, yay or nay?
To that, I'm going to say let me ask you more questions. For
here we go.
for hunting, right? For cutting meat, fantastic.
Okay.
It's a hollow ground blade, right? Hollow ground meaning that you have a concave profile to the edge.
I see this.
So it doesn't hold up well to lateral stress, right? To woodworking. But back in the heyday, like that was the knife. Like if you're in deer camp, that's cutting up big steaks. That knife is going to get a lot of, like, there are probably countless fires that were made with those. Like I had a Buck Special, which was like the shorter version of the General for a long time. Solid knife.
Okay.
Solid
All right,
knife.
cool.
And that's probably, if it's from the 60s, that's when Buck was really, really like, they're all about quality control. They didn't blow up and have knives in 1,000 stores in the US, probably more.
Are they still? They're not still all U.S. made, right?
They've got some stuff overseas, I believe. But Chuck Buck was the guy that made Chuck Buck.
Chuck Buck.
Yeah, and every year at
My name's Buck, and I never mind.
Buck Banana Fan.
My name is Chuck. And
Yeah,
I like
there's
Buck.
a lot of people that spent countless nights in the woods with buck knives. So
Okay.
I think I actually met Chuck Buck. I don't know when he's not with us.
I don't
right?
think he is now, but loyal following.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. I think I met him at a SHOT Show one year.
Okay, second knife I have for you to
Another buck,
to review.
or is that a charade?
Oh, it's a buck. Hold on.
Oh yes.
So, quick story. It's a traditional buck knife here, but my father had this machined in his shop to flick. Okay, so it's a sticker. Highly illegal, folks. Highly illegal. You can't carry this. So it just hangs out in the house. But you can try it if you like.
I love it. I love it.
It's a lot of fun. Yep.
Look at that.
Bam.
That's got a good.
Yep. It's got a
Flick to it.
good spring in it. So he had one of his buddies machine it for him. So that's it's been a minute with that one.
There are guys that swear by this knife too. Again, classic knife. This knife has about. There are hundreds of iterations with like giraffe bone.
I have a charade one that looks just like it. It's a beautiful. My dad bought it for me, like my first big boy knife at like 13. So it was a great knife.
But this is the knife that if you see the guy, and I won't like, let's just assume that he's coming at you and he does like the grandpa opening an apple, and he doesn't run like hell from that guy.
Okay.
Because like if he's carrying this as his offensive weapon,
Yeah.
That's the guy that I'm deathly afraid of.
Okay. All right.
know?
So good to know.
Yeah, it's a great blade though.
All right. Moving on. I brought a bunch in here today for Kevin to
This
review
is
for
fun.
us.
I love it.
Okay. This was something I picked up in Clinton, Connecticut, a place you might know of. Okay. So this is a Harley Davidson knife. It's Harley Davidson, but it's a Benchmade.
No kidding.
Okay. It looks pretty cool until you do this. And now it's a punch knife.
Jesus.
Okay. This thing is purely for bushcraft.
What type of bush, man?
Crazy, right?
I gotta play with this.
Yeah, of course you do.
Hey,
I've
let
never
me
seen this.
Let me
one.
ask you this: Is this handle like Bakelite? Is it?
It's Bakelite, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's old school, dude.
That's old school. When was this?
It's like
60s?
a 60s knife, yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Yep.
This is no joke.
Yep. So Kevin, what do you think?
Well, push daggers.
Complete
That's what this is. This is called a push dagger.
punch knife.
Punch knife.
Yep.
I'll tell you, these are difficult to disarm if you're trying to get it out, like trying to wrench it out of someone's hand. I'm not a big fan of splitting my grip.
Okay.
Right. I don't like having things go through my fingers like this. If I were using this knife, here we go. Here's a mechanism. I'd want to keep it in this grip right here.
Like
The reason,
forward grip.
the reason being, whether you go forward or you go reverse grip, I'm cool with that. I actually like that I can cap this one and it doesn't grab my hand. But when you split your grip, now you're putting something that if that blade gets stuck on something, you run the risk of potentially breaking fingers.
Understood.
Right. So, I'm not a big fan of anything like, even though people love karambits.
We'll get there.
Yeah, karambits are cool, but keep in mind that traditionally they were used for self-defense by females. So we get guys that are all the time like, oh, we love this knife. It's like the most manly knife. It's like, it's kind of like an ulu, right? An ulu was a woman's knife in Alaska, like for
Like
the
a kimono.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eskimo knife,
yeah. So that one, Benchmade's an awesome company. They're good people, but I'm not a big fan of push daggers.
Moving on. Karambit.
Yes.
This is something I picked up a little while ago. Okay. Nice. Looks good. It's very dangerous. This thing, it's bladed everywhere. Everywhere.
So that's double bladed. So it's outside, inside.
It's so illegal.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm just like scared of it. I'm like, arr! So,
intense.
Kevin, thoughts on the Karambit?
Thoughts on the Karambit? Generally speaking, they're good with training. One thing that Karambits lack is the ability to thrust. That's something that drives people crazy, because if you think about like a baseball bat, at the peak of that baseball bat swing, that's when you have the furthest amount of range. Same thing with the Karambit motion, right? Most of the time when it's out there, that's as far as you're going, and you're drawing back towards yourself as opposed to thrusting, right? Like moving closer into a person. So there are Karambits out there that I approve of, and I would say that those would be like the ones that actually have like a forward spike on it where you can thrust with them. In Sayoc, we have one that was actually featured in a TV show. If you ever saw the show Chance on Hulu with Ethan Suplee,
yes,
yeah, he basically plays the character of Tuan Tom.
I did see that,
and he's got the Soon kit. So if you want to see the Karambit, that I would say 100%, that's the one to check out.
Okay.
That would be great. Overall, though, just be aware that most Karambit wounds are self-inflicted, right? People training with them. So I don't care which one you end up getting, right? No matter which one you end up getting, practice with a aluminum or a composite trainer, because most people will have a scar on the inside of their wrist from doing a Karambit transition. And if you go to a Filipino martial arts school, look on the ceiling, because you might see arterial spray.
Oh,
so that's like a legit thing.
All right, so I have a few more. We're just gonna kind of go through this. Okay, so this is a it says prototype on it. Bark River. Okay, a wise man, Kevin Estela, once told me that if I wanted to put a patina on this, I would put it in a potato.
Nice.
So it was all shiny, and he's like, well, if you want to protect it, just put it in a potato for, I don't know, 45 minutes, a couple hours. I kept it in for like a day. And now it's got a wonderful patina on it. It's like, cool. So nice little carry. My friend Kevin made me this sheath.
I like it.
Okay, it's a little tracker style. It goes either right on the side here or in the back. Sure. Very nice. We'll just say this is like an EDC kind of thing. I wouldn't say necessarily we'll throw it out in the wilderness, but it'll work. Okay. Now.
Oh yeah.
Now, this
paracord wrapped. I can see
is
that
a
already.
Gossman. Kevin Estela designed tactical knife, A2 tool steel. Now notice how it fits in the hand. Okay, that's all you need. That's it. I know I saw that on YouTube. I don't really know how to use it.
It's all right.
Look good though.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Sound
and then,
effects added to good too.
My man, Kevin, put my initials, TTJ.
I forgot about that sheath. Like,
well, this is when you first started making sheaths. Right? So it's like, he's looking at this going, what's that piece of shit? And he's like, oh, that's my piece of shit.
I made that shit.
He made all these, this is great. I love them.
It's like if you're an artist and then you see your stuff that you did in the 6th grade.
Dude, trust me, I know all about that.
That's a horse?
That crap. But like this to me, he was like, oh, dude, I don't really like that much. I think I should have done better. I was like, this is perfect.
Yeah. So question, right? Preference: leather, synthetic leather, Kydex. Like, what's your, like, if you were, so for instance, and I'll tell you, Kydex. Because I have the Bastinelli Pica, Pica, right? And I love the Pica. I love that fucking blade. I just love it because it's tiny. Legally, there's like, it's not double bladed. It's something that you can carry with you in a lot of places where you don't have an issue. So I always have that Pica on me, right? And then they have the Picour, which is like the straight. Right, so you can thrust with the Picour. You can't really with the Pica. I mean, you can pop, but it's the back end. It's the back edge of of it. So you can't really. It'll still do damage, but it's not going to do like the Picour. But the Kydex is a motherfucker for me because it does start to loosen up like over time, pulling it out, and especially training with it. And when you talk about the cuts, I had a Tirani 511 fucking fold out Karambit that I played with, cut the shit out of myself with that one. Played with the Pica a little bit, cut myself with the Pica, But the Kydex over time, and they sell the trainer too. The Kydex just kind of like, it feels like it loosens up, and I put like a heat gun to it, and then
Try to tighten it back up.
yeah, tried to tighten it back up, but it just never tightens back up.
Yeah, you've got
So
to
what's
view
your preference like when it comes to sheaths? Like, are you into Kydex now, or are you into?
So I've made both. I'm a big fan of leather sheaths for
Yeah.
the great outdoors, especially like the knife that I carry in the book, the knife that I carry on most classes. I want that knife as deep in that sheath as possible. Like the one that you first showed us, Todd, the General. I love the fact that it's got the flap over the top for retention. You have to think about like how quickly do you have to access your blade, right? Like again, Sayoc training is going to give me 1,000 questions to ask before I come up with an answer. How quickly do I have to access that blade? How much retention do I need on that blade before it releases free from the sheath? I want to be able to access it with one hand, two hands, right? Like there's 1,000 questions you can ask that will give you the correct answer. Most of my defensive blades, like the blades that I will carry and I'm going to do this on a daily basis, are going to be in Kydex. But if I'm in the woods, they're more than likely going to be leather. The reason, if I'm hunting, I don't want anything hitting the side of my Kydex on the side of my belt that will give away, sound, my sound signature. And Kydex has snap retention. Now I can make leather sheaths that have snap retention, but you're saying that yours is loosening up. Contact Bassinelli and say, I need a new sheath. View sheaths as disposable goods, right?
Yeah.
The knife is something you'll be able to sharpen, you'll be able to reuse it over and over, but eventually sheaths, they do give. So even though, a well-made sheath, you're gonna be like, oh my God, it's a shame I have to get a new one. How many times are you gonna draw that knife, sheath that knife? You're gonna be breaking it in, smoothing it out. Yeah. So, I'm a big fan of Kydex for self-defense.
Is this an Sayakali blade?
No. So that's Bill Rapier's blade, Amtac blades. Bill is an incredible individual. Did a lot of America stuff. Former Navy SEAL.
Oh yeah. Nice.
And he gave that to me. All of his knives are serial numbered. I was kind of psyched. I got number 99. Just cool number.
It would have been better if you had 101.
I know, right? So,
No doubt.
so the thing is, Bill wanted a knife that fit all of his parameters. By the way, we're a jiu-jitsu podcast. Bill is a black belt in Machado Jiu-Jitsu.
Nice.
Oh,
incredible power. The guy is an endurance athlete, unbelievable marksman, great with combatives. I mean, and he's a very good friend. He's someone who I'm proud to call him a friend. It makes me wonder, like, wow, how will I ever, stand toe to toe with this guy? Like, but it's not we're standing toe to toe. We're standing together on one common mission, like getting people more ready. So that knife I put through the ringer. I've got to actually clean up the serrations on it. I'm not a big fan of serrations, but
I was going to ask you like that because I have full just straight blades, and I also have regular serrations. I don't know. Like,
I'm just going to throw this out there, and I saw what you did there. This drives Kevin nuts. Drives him nuts.
Oh, why?
Because you're going to cut your finger.
No, I'm being very careful, man.
Yeah, so said the guy in the woods that lost his finger.
I know.
All
seriously.
right. So you know what Kevin does?
Yeah.
or the marker, the Sharpie marker.
I don't know that one.
So you run the edge on the Sharpie marker, right? You run a training blade. You run your edge on a Sharpie marker on an angle, and as that knife cuts in, if it slips off the Sharpie marker, you now have a rolled spot where you have to give it a little extra loving.
Oh,
So-
that's fantastic.
So you'll see people do that with their fingernails,
Oh
and it's
my
like,
God.
wow, you're training yourself to cut yourself. That's really, really cool. Keep doing that. So you
see?
just take a Sharpie marker and you run it over the Sharpie marker, and that gives you an idea of, all right, I need to pay more attention. Or take a flashlight and hold it in line with the edge. And if you see a bright silver spot on the edge, that's a roll, and you'll have to give that.
Does this count?
Hell yeah, yeah,
That counts? Could you give us a demonstration of what
Yeah.
that looks like?
Yeah. Let's see.
Hand back the blade, bro.
I don't want to.
I know.
It's
So nice, man.
it's a great blade. I
It's
mean,
really nice. The blade shape is totally different.
And-
Like that than.
and
stuff I've seen
Bill's a Sayoc guy, so he's had a lot of blade
Oh,
training.
great. So he's a Sayoc guy and a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
Great.
which explains my connection to him and a lot of the guys in the book that recommended it. You know,
Okay,
like
can I have that guy on my team too?
100%.
Okay,
He's a great American.
Welcome, Bill.
So the whole idea behind this was that it was going to be, it could be used for camping and whatnot, but I mean, it was a defensive blade. It hooks into your hand nicely. You can cap it. It's not going to cut your thumb. But basically, the way that you do that test, and I was just using this knife, you hold it flat, turn it 45, and as I run it across, I can see the spots right here, right in front of the serrations where it's skipping. You see that? But when the edge is sharp, it bites in and it doesn't move.
Can you
Right?
see that?
Yeah. So right in front of the serrations, it's going to slide down the marker a little bit, but then it bites in and it doesn't slide at that point.
yeah.
Right? So see how it, like I put it here and it's sliding until it catches, right? And if I were to take a light and flash it, I could see that there are a couple little hot spots right there that I just need to touch it up. So
That's great.
simple
awesome.
trick just to test your edge. And getting back to the book, know the status of your tools, right?
Awesome.
Like, is it dull? Well, if it's dull, you're probably going to cut yourself with it.
Okay. Excellent.
I
Thank you,
think that's
Kevin.
the thing that's so funny is most people don't realize that when your knife is dull, that's when you're going to cut yourself. I mean, that's legit. Like,
Because you're actually
that's
going to
when
be
you
cutting
get-
harder,
yeah,
you know, because
exactly,
the tool's not working. You know, it's like
Yeah.
a dull chainsaw.
yeah.
You ever work with one of those? It's
That's
terrible.
worst.
Fresh blade. Mm-mm.
Pushing down on that bar. Like, oh,
it's all burning.
this
All
is
right.
hardwood.
So here is, what did you say?
Shut up.
Sorry.
He got you. He fucking got you, man.
All right. So the last piece of equipment I'd like to. This is a Victorinox Kevin Estela branded survival knife.
That's sexy.
Swiss Army knife. Now, I've seen a bunch of different. I've seen all these tools on here. This is, scissors and saw and this and that. Dude, I saw this thing and I was like, what in the holy hell is this? It's a hook. I'm like, do I use this for a fish or like, what do I do? And Kevin said,
So yeah, Todd sends me a text message. He's like, "What the hell is this thing?" And I said, "You have to keep in mind, Swiss Army knife, European pastry shops. They wrap everything up with like the little white cord, and you don't want to hold that in your hands because you hold it in your hands and it cuts into your hands. So that's a parcel hook. But what we use it for is we take a lot of like really tight knots and we pull on the knots with them.
so cool.
People have like
That's
people have
great.
I've never seen it here.
yeah, I've seen some people mod it where they'll take a round file and they'll make a gut hook for hunting. But I mean, it's got a lot of uses. You'll find a use for it.
Right.
So paracord. Just,
Yeah,
Sure.
holds
Oh my
paracord fine.
God. How about untying knots? I mean, I
That's
feel
what I'm
like
saying. That's what I'm saying. It'll.
Oh, you're saying
it-
like just tighten them up and then loosen them.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Pretty cool, right? Kevin, you can get that at kevinestela.com.
Look, man, I just bought the book. It's Corona time,
But
man.
hey, priced to sell.
Yeah, it's dope.
Very affordable.
I tell people if you're a grown man and you don't have a knife in your pocket, you're a failure as a man.
Oh shit.
And that bothers people. And here's my
Fucking
take
A,
on
man.
that.
I'm telling you right now.
That's strong.
And listen, I'm not like, granted, I mean, I've heard people say like, oh my God, Instagram, you got a lot of followers. I don't care about my followers in that respect. Like if I have 5 followers or 100 or 10,000, I care about the people that are closest to me. And if someone wants to listen to what I'm saying and if they want to like say, hey, that's great, that's fine. But I say, look, how are you able to protect your family? How are you able to protect yourself? If you're not able to
Yeah.
protect the people that you are supposedly able to or you love the most, you're not going to help me at all. It's either asset or liability. You're not an asset right now. That means I have to give you one of my knives, making me weaker to make you stronger.
That's the thing that pisses me. A lot of my
Here's my
friends know
soapbox.
me. Yeah, no, I get it, man. And a lot of my friends know me as someone who like we can do, we do foraging and we have our gardens and we know how to,
awesome.
we have livestock and we raise, all that stuff. We've done it all. The homesteader path and everything else and the survivalist path. And a lot of my friends will be like, oh shit, man. When the shit hits the fan, we're coming to your house. And I was like, fuck, dude, no. Like, I mean, I love you, but I can't, like, I cannot house everyone. Like, everyone needs to know these skills. They need to understand that everyone needs to be responsible for themselves, and you have to be responsible for your family first, right? My friend Jason Rosen he said somebody said that to him a while ago. Was like, oh, Jay, when the zombie apocalypse comes, man, I'm coming to your house. And Jason just looked at him with his dead fucking stare, and he goes, oh yeah, I could definitely use more backstrap. Like fucking, I was like, holy shit, dude. But then, like, legit, like Jay is fucking. I've learned. He's learned a lot of like kind of more pistol craft stuff from me. I've learned a lot of stuff from him as well, and we've been friends forever. And that was one of the funniest things I ever fucking heard from him. Was just like, oh yeah, we can definitely use some more backstrap. Like fucking holy shit.
Speaking
It's
of
awesome. It's
speaking
awesome.
of food from the wilderness, skill number 48. Back to the book. A strong flashlight temporarily blinds frogs and freezes them in their tracks.
That's crazy. What is it? A flat? What did we say?
Just a flashlight. Just blind them right. I mean,
Yeah.
get one of those tactical lumen, 10,000 lumen.
Exactly.
Now you got to be careful with that one. You could get arrested potentially for
eating frogs.
harassing wildlife. Like if someone really wanted to be that guy, they could be like, "You're harassing
Well,
wildlife."
this is like survival.
Survival, right?
So you're trying to eat them frog legs.
But I mean, I remember when I was a kid, we'd go down to Memorial Boulevard, right? And late at night, my friend Jared Levesque, he and I would go fishing. And when the frogs were out, we would see if we could go up to the frog because their eyes are on the side of their head. Like I've seen people that look like frogs; they're weird looking, but like, but you know, like, and you look at them, and then they have to like turn their head to look at you, like. So we used to go up to frogs and touch them on the nose, and they couldn't see your finger right in front of their face.
It's because you had the flashlight on them?
No, even without the flashlight. But with the flashlight, you can flash them and grab them behind the, in front of the legs and behind the forearms, and just grab them right out of the water.
So what part of it? Do you just eat the legs, or?
So I'm not a big fan of frog legs. I loved stuffed animal frogs as a kid. I like my heart breaks anytime I see a dead frog on the road. Like that's like a little secret about me. Love frogs. Frog legs are where you're going to get the not the tenderloins, but like the
delicious backstrap.
Yeah, no, there's hardly anything there. But most people, unless you're talking to like the deep fried frogs that you'll see in Mexico or in Asia, most people just stick to the legs.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. Skill number 50.
Hit it.
Oh, dude, Kevin is actually in the old school 2014. He came up and he started a fire with steel wool and a battery.
And a battery, yeah.
Oh, man, it was so cool. It's like,
it's no
he's
joke.
got a picture here in the book.
Yep.
And, like, I was like, dude, that's so cool. And, of course, I don't want to show my son because he'd be like, "Rah!" Just starting fires everywhere. But, like,
it's like 9 volts all over the fucking house.
Carrying some steel wool and a 9-volt or a battery with you and just to start a fire. It's amazing. And you know what? It's funny. Kevin, he did that seminar years ago, and it never dawned on me that you can start a fire with petroleum jelly.
Yeah, of which you have tons at your disposal.
But I guess in my own defense, Kevin, who puts that shit on their skin?
I'll say this as a survival instructor: when you go to the store to buy materials for classes, you try to lump the Vaseline and cotton purchase with all this other stuff, so you don't just go to the store and you buy like the economy size Vaseline, and then of course
I'd like 6 gallons of Vaseline,
of course,
please.
yeah, of course. There's always without fail, it's always like a cute
shit.
girl. Like
Yeah.
oh my god, like super innocent looking. You're like, oh my god, no, you want to break out like credentials and say like, no, I'm teaching survival, and meanwhile, I was just thinking, no, you're not,
Yeah.
stop.
That's like me when I buy like multiple vibrators at CVS. I'm like, yo, I'm teaching survival.
It's Friday night at the Rivetti house.
It's Friday night.
All right, moving
not
on.
true. I
Skill
love you, Jenny.
number. Sorry, Jenny. Skill number 63: leave a breadcrumb trail. So I recently did this with paracord. Behind our house, we have all these trails that go down, and we'll get to land nav in a second, but land nav person I am not. And oh my god, it's embarrassing. I couldn't even use my iPhone one year when I was like going through woods. I'm like, I think a road's over there. It was so embarrassing. My wife is very, very still very disappointed. But I've did it with paracord. I just, going through and just wrap around the tree. It's the orange trail. So I know how to get back. And it's so important.
Yeah.
So when you say breadcrumb trail, are you talking about that? Like talking about just like tying things on branches, or?
There's a lot of things that you can do, like
carve out like arrows and things like that.
Like, and I'll preface this. I'll say that I'm not a tracker, right? Like that's a whole other survival genre. People claim to be trackers. Some are legitimate trackers, like my friend Craig Caudill. Other guys, not so much. Some trackers will say that you're leaving breadcrumb trails whether you know it or not, right? You're doing it subconsciously. You're just walking, and you can tell by like
beer cans.
Yeah, right. Like signing and things like that. But I mean, the natives used to turn leaves upside down, right? So like as you're walking, if you're really in tune, and if that's what you know is what you're looking for, most people look between 3 feet and like say 6 feet up. Like we don't look at the ground. So when you're walking, you just look at shoulder level. You turn a leaf upside down. Most leaves are darker on the top, light on the bottom. So when you turn them upside down, you could see that clear as day.
That's a good idea.
But
that's really good.
But that's a very different level. Like
Yeah, what if it's a windy day though?
Well, there are other things that you can do, right? But depending on who you're teaching, right? Like I cater my lessons to everyone from like Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts to police and military guys. Some guys, when they're in the woods, they can't be seen. Some guys, they can't leave a signature. So when I teach shelter classes to those guys, those are the ones where I'm saying, all right, you're not building anything over the ground, you're building into the ground, or you're making the ground look like an extension of the ground, and you're blending in as opposed to, you know, creating an A-frame or a lean-to or whatever. But many people, when they do those shelters, they'll actually by accident turn the leaves upside down. And if they're trying to not be seen, well, you can see the anomaly, right? You can look through the woods, like dark leaves are, oh, bright leaves. Well, you can imagine if you're someone who can't be seen, you want to keep all the leaves the right side up. If you're trying to build a survival shelter, it doesn't hurt to do that occasionally because it will stand out. But just, you know, you should have other means of signaling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you had mentioned tourniquet before. Okay. And I took that course at Raizu. I have my
Yeah, I saw this
on the
earlier.
wall,
Yeah.
trauma first response. I forget his name. I think it was Van or something like that. Anyway, I have it on there. Sorry if I'm missing your name, bud. Great course. But he was pushing a certain type of tourniquet, and you mentioned something in your book here, and it's called the combat application tourniquet. And it's a black one. It's got this twisty thing on it, and I think Kevin is going to bust it out right now.
Well, this is similar.
Okay.
There's both of those types, the combat application tourniquet. This is called a soft T. Both of them operate off of a turnbuckle, and the soft T actually gets a couple extra bonus points because number one, I can carry this in places where I can't carry blades, and I can still use it as an impact weapon.
Okay.
Right. If you want to test this, you can get a concrete block. You'll actually break holes in a concrete block.
Wow.
Because it's an aluminum turnbuckle as opposed to a plastic one, a
Look at you,
polymer.
always thinking about striking. Look at you.
Both ways too,
Look at
right?
you.
Like in jujitsu, bringing it in, bringing the guy in the clinch and rubbing that into that. You know, like the stick grappling stuff. It all applies.
It does.
But this one actually, when it was tested recently by the military, they determined that this one uses a true like 1.5 or 1.25 band as opposed to the cat, which is actually a band inside of a band. So the band inside of a band is say 1 inch. This one is just the band, and it puts a better compression around the extremity.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. But they're great.
But so I carry one here at the school, and I carry one at home, you know, and obviously they've never been used. Thank God.
Yeah, knock on wood.
Knock on wood many times.
Yeah.
But they're important to have. And he sold me hard on that. I was like, I got to have these. So I went and purchased them.
Yeah. You think about it, like even in your car, right? Like I put them on the old crap handles, right? Because
is that what you really call them?
So you put them on the shit handles, and here's the thing: when they're on there, then you know that they're within reach if you were to get into an accident, and you're surrounded by metal and glass, and a lot of car accidents lead to severe bleeding. So you got to be able to address it.
Okay, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
You want to see some?
What?
I'll show you later.
Okay, but can we move on to skill number 76?
Yeah.
Makeshift sunglasses.
Oh my God, that's such a good story.
All right, look at these. Dude, you're wearing legit aluminum foil over your face.
Those are makeshift? That's what I have.
I don't know. It kind of looks like Back to the Future.
That's what I wear when I go to Big Y.
Yeah, that's Doc Brown right there.
I'm like, yo, Doc Brown.
Go ahead. What's the story behind that one?
So keep in mind, I wrote this book from April to June, and the photos were taken in the summer. That photo was taken in the Adirondacks in July or August. It's like 90 degrees.
Oh, it's horrible.
And I'm like, I need to make this photo look like it's winter because you're basically using an emergency blanket, a Mylar blanket. You bring it close to your face, you can actually see through it. So it's not just like standard aluminum foil, but if it's Mylar, like plasticized Mylar or aluminum, you can see through that. So I'm in like 90 degrees. I've got a wool hat on. I've got a scarf around my neck, and I've got a thermal blanket around my face.
Oh my God, dude.
And I'm there like, take the goddamn picture. Oh. And like, I'm sweating. So that photo was actually taken in the middle of the summer.
Oh, well, was that you in there?
Yeah, that's me.
Oh my gosh. And what's over your head?
That's a wool hat.
Oh, that's the wool. Oh, I get it. Okay. Cause it kind of looked like a coconut kind of, I didn't know what was going on.
It looked
there.
like a coconut.
But again, he's the guy that will go out. I shit you not. He will get in his canoe with just like his skibbies on, and go down the river and be like, all right, see you in 3 days.
Yeah, totally.
Like,
Sure.
dude, that's mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, it's
like,
awesome.
he'll just live off the land because that's what I want to do on my 3-day weekend.
Yeah.
But it's legit. I mean, I have much respect. So, you shared a story years ago, okay, about this group of people that was out west, okay, and they died of lack of vitamin C.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And Kevin had us chewing on white pine one day, like during one of his bushcraft seminars. And it's a remarkable story. Go ahead and share that story about the people. out
Yeah,
west.
so everyone knows about the gold rush, right? And people flocked to Alaska and they were like, oh my God, I'm going to find gold here and in the Yukon Territory and whatnot. And they died of scurvy. And they died in fields of wintergreen berries that have vitamin C.
Vitamin C, yeah.
Which
it was
is
all around him.
it's all around them.
Yeah.
But they were so focused, right? They wanted that gold. They didn't even realize to bring the necessary provisions with them. White pine has a lot of vitamin C, pound for pound, as much vitamin C as the same quantity of oranges. So I show people you can make white pine tea. You can make any tea out of, or you can make tea out of any of the pines. The white pine, you can actually eat the inner bark. It's going to taste a little bit like a car air freshener.
It's
but-
gamey.
Yeah, but you can get by on it.
Yeah, who cares?
And you can also put it in stews as a thickener. So it gives you the sensation of being full.
Interesting.
That's super cool.
So you go through a bunch of different ways to obtain water. Okay. So there was some interesting stuff in here, but of course you have to buy the book to understand it.
Buy the book, Amazon.com.
Amazon.com.
Where's the best place to buy it?
I'm sure Steve will put an Amazon.com
Oh my God, there's
link
gonna be
up
so
there.
many links.
Okay. But what's your favorite method for obtaining water?
Bear
Just-
Grylls piss. Got it. Did it. Done.
Does it have to be your own?
Wasn't asking you, Bear Week.
So I have no problem like just dipping my canteen cup in the water, boiling it, and saying we're good.
Sure.
But grapevines, a lot of people think like, remember Predator, right? Like Billy goes up to the
Just hits it and
Yeah.
cuts it with his big
he goes
bolo
up to,
knife. And
he goes up to the vine and he's drinking
There's
from
fucking
it. and-
gallons of water coming
Yeah.
out of the grapevine.
So we can't do that with grapevine. It doesn't work that way. But
doesn't?
No, not.
so that was false advertising.
Well, that is true. That is a true jungle plant.
Okay.
But in the Northeast where we are, if you go up to a grapevine this time of year and you scrape the bottom of the grapevine and put a cup under there, that grapevine right now is bringing all sorts of water up through the ground, through the leaves, and it will drip into your cup. But you scrape the bottom underside of the vine close to the ground, put the cup, fresh water, and it's got a slightly grape flavor, but not like, it's not going to taste like grape drink or grape juice, you know?
Just a hint.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So volume-wise, how much are you going to get?
Within a half hour, you'll fill a cup.
You'll fill a cup.
Easily. And that's the other thing. Like, if you're doing a solar still, you're doing it incorrectly. Solar still, you're digging in the ground. Number one, you have to have all this material that you're probably not going to have,
Yeah.
like big plastic sheet,
Plastic sheets,
tubing,
all that
and-
shit, yeah.
right. So I'm a big fan of transpiration bags, like letting the leaves sweat, collects in the bag, or the grapevine. Those are my two. But that's like if I really failed to prepare.
Okay.
Like if I run out of water, where the hell am I?
But he had some really good ways of obtaining water in here. And I was just like, damn.
What do you think about the life straw? You a fan?
It's not bad.
Is that the one with the filter?
Yeah, I mean,
You have to
listen,
suck really hard.
I've been backpacking for a bajillion fucking years, and we had pure filters, and then we went to the smaller micro filters, and we went to MSR filters, and the Marine Corps MSR,
Yeah.
and then all these different ones. And then they came out with the life straw. I don't know. It feels like it was only like, I don't know how long
They're not,
it was.
and they're not super expensive.
They're not that
the
bad.
Only thing that I warn people about with those straws and the pumps is that if water is in that ceramic filter or that filter that's like microns
Yeah.
wide, and that water freezes, it can create fissures, it can break,
Yeah,
and now you're going to have contaminated water going through it. So I tell people like boil number one.
Iodine?
I'm a big fan of chlorine. I like the Aquamira drops
Yeah,
because
sure.
they don't have that same chlorine taste.
Yeah.
And granted, you have to wait like 30 minutes for it to change and then like shake the water and all that great stuff.
Yeah.
But 2 little bottles, you can treat 120 gallons. Like,
Yeah.
how many iodine tablets would you have to, like those little bottles would you have to carry to carry
exactly.
120, So I'm a big fan of those drops.
Okay,
Big,
that's cool.
big fan.
So you can consume a decent amount of that and not dye.
Yeah. I mean, it's a oxidizer, so there's nothing left in the water. I drank that in Alaska for 3 weeks.
Bleach?
Yeah, not bleach. Well, the chlorine.
Chlorine.
Which
Similar?
I guess is similar. Yeah, but 3 weeks. I mean,
How's the burps?
they're fine.
It's like you're in a pool.
No.
They're fresh.
All right.
It's like a pool.
By the way, I want to say this is the deepest dive, and I love it, of the skills. Like, most people are like, yeah, so talk about the book. Oh, yeah, so talk about the knife. Like, this is awesome. Like, play by play. Like, this is the podcast that people should be listening to.
Yeah, well, thanks, because I'm prepared. Okay.
Yes.
These other numbskulls you
Preparation.
interviewed you. Sorry, I don't know who these people are. Sorry.
People are slackers.
So, number 100.
Yeah.
It's pretty dope. Dude, look at this spear.
Yeah.
All right, so he just took like a branch and then sharpened the points and then put like a little cross member thing in there and just, I mean, dude, you can get some fish with that bad boy.
Yeah.
It's a pinning spear.
This says 4-pronged spear.
Yeah. So it pins the fish to the ground.
Okay.
A lot of people are building these spears and they're like, oh, I'm going to puncture through that fish. And I'm like, have you ever gone fishing with minnows using a metal hook, trying to put a minnow on that metal hook? Like, you're not going, and you're holding the fish and you have a hard time. Now this fish is suspended in water and you're going to put a wooden point through it.
Right.
That's where I throw the brown flag, and I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about. Whenever I've caught fish in the wild in front of people, legit, like, how did you do that? I've either pinned it to the ground or I've splashed it out of the water.
Yeah.
I have never, ever done the Tom Hanks, let me throw it through the air.
Wilson.
Yeah, which I love that movie. Don't get me started on that one, but
That is a great movie.
but that's where it is. Like, and it's reality. Like, and people don't want to hear this because it's their fantasy. I get it. You know.
I have
yeah, where they jab the goddamn spear, and then they hold the spear up, and the fish is flipping in the air or whatever. And that's
maybe possible. I don't know.
I mean, dude, look. I mean, so how realistic do you feel is bow fishing? You think
Bow
that's
fishing's legit.
like legit.
100%
So I've seen,
legit.
I've seen it a bunch, and I've seen people reel in big ass fish bow fishing. But I've always been like, the arrow's got to go into the water, and then there's all the resistance from the water, and how much resistance is there, and is it still going to do what it needs to do? And then the vision, like
The refraction.
refraction of the water, so you're not sure whether or not it's like, is the fish here or there? Like, that's
that's interesting because we're
crazy.
moving on to the next one that Kevin puts in here is slingshot.
Segue, slingshot.
Slingshot. Dude, I can't hit the broadside of a damn barn with that damn ball, or sometimes a rocket. It's like going different ways. I mean, yeah, slingshot's legit. I mean, Kevin made me a really cool pole one.
Oh, hell yeah.
So I have it still in Vermont, and I've been training my son on it, which is awesome. So we take it down to the lake, and so basically what it is, it's a pole. And, the David and Goliath, slingshot, you put that on the end, and you just put this little loop over the top, and then you put a rock in there, and you whip it, and now, I have no idea how accurate that thing is. It's probably not, but still very fun.
Marty was teaching that to military guys for escape and evasion. And he said you can make it out of the tongue of your shoe and your shoelaces in a branch. And he said if you're up on top of a hill and there's a enemy force coming at you, but you want them to think that you're down in the valley, you can launch.
Oh,
right.
That's so smart.
So there is that.
Yeah,
but
that's
historically, what they were used for was to disrupt military formations. So imagine you're there with like all your archers, or you got your staff and your shield.
And you're just whipping those.
And all of a sudden you see these softball sized rocks coming at you. Like, are you really going to be that guy that's going to be like,
I see the purpose of that.
I'll take the hit.
Yeah. No, that's
no, you won't, dude.
really
what happened to
interesting.
Carl? Oh, I can see his brains. Is he okay? Yeah, he's good.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
But, slingshots are it's probably one of the oldest forms of, what do they make those elastics out of? Intestines or some point?
Yeah, if you're talking about like the standard sling.
No, or that, or just the one you pull. Like, I don't know.
Rubber.
Just rubber? Okay,
Yeah,
so
rubber.
that wasn't invented until rubber was introduced.
Right,
Okay,
right.
makes sense. All right, so now we're getting towards the end of the book here. We have to get to the most important part. Obviously, the most
I knew that was
important
coming.
part, okay? Because let's face it, this is important. All right, talks about his Raizu martial arts experience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Guru Rich, Guru Sue, who were our instructors. and including my longest running training partner, Todd Jensen of IPD in Tallinn, Connecticut. You've all made me stronger with each training session.
Famous.
Listen,
Again, dude.
I'm telling you, I
telling you.
can't. I'm about to just like mosh with this book right now. You can't be more famous.
I can't take like the. All right, you know, just our last podcast, I was kind of like excited about the fact that you're as famous as you are.
Thank you.
But seriously,
Okay.
multiple CDs, DVD jackets, BD sitting here just fucking
So hard,
chilling
man.
with you.
It's hard, man.
Then all of a sudden, snap. We come to this podcast. What are we talking about now?
Ripples.
I'm in the.
Dude,
Damn right, it's
Big
ripples.
rock over here.
Okay.
fucking big
Damn
rock.
Right.
I feel like I'm going to be famous because you're famous.
I feel like if you drop that hat in a lake right now, it's gonna make some huge ripples.
Oh man.
This one.
Yeah.
Shit's a jerk.
And then it's gonna immediately like disintegrate.
No way. It's bolted, bro.
It's bolted down. Oh shit.
So
Oh,
listen,
God.
101 ways. Okay, this is what you need. This is your handbook. This should go in your backpack, in your man purse. All right, it should go with you to work. You should read this. It's not, and again, I'm not going to speak for Kevin because he's not right here. Oh wait, he is. But you don't use this as a like A to Z book. You just kind of like look at it as a manual, right? Like just like you want to educate yourself, maybe bounce back and forth kind of thing.
And it's funny because I appreciate all the reviews that I've had online. Like it's nice knowing like some people say, oh my God, this book has really helped me like take care of my fears or see the world differently.
Sure.
But every once in a while, and I will use the name Karen because I actually did get a review from a Karen online.
Sweet. Poor
Awesome.
Karen.
And it's like
that
that name is ruined,
it's
right?
terrible.
There's not going to be any more children named Karen.
No.
Ever.
Right.
Poor
Or
Karen.
Becky.
Ever.
Becky's another name that's
Becky.
like Becky,
Susan, that's another. Susan is
yeah.
the older version of Karen.
Let's just face it. Todd is almost
Todd
ruined.
is up there with Kyle.
It's almost ruined.
You ever hear George Carlin talk about the name fucking Todd?
Yeah, it's
oh my God, it's the
listen,
best.
my mom named me after the doctor that saved my life. Okay, so
There you go. It's
all right.
perfect.
It's poor.
You get
poor
it. That's your
Todds.
get out of jail Todd
Did you
card.
see? Did you see Deadpool 2
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
when she's like, "We will never name our kid
Our
Todd."
kid Todd.
I was like,
I shit you not. We watched that like 2 fucking nights ago. We watched that with the kids, and everyone looked at me and was like, "Fucking Todd."
I know,
was like,
dude.
yeah, I know.
I don't particularly
know,
like
I
my
know.
name, but hey, listen, it is what it is, and now we have a Toddcast.
Goddamn right we do.
Fucking Toddcast.
It's a reason why Todd is Todd. That's a reason why that name is happening right now. It's because we have a Toddcast.
I know, but Kevin,
So yeah, the couple more things like real quick thing. Like I said, I appreciate all the reviews. That book's never meant to be the one and done. Like I don't want people to say, I know I got the book. It's all I need. Like I tell people straight in there, like that book should not be your sole teacher. Like go find people to train with. Go look in other books. And I love the reviews online where people are like, yeah, but he didn't include a picture of this or a picture of that. And it's like, because it's not supposed to be the
Karen.
yeah, right. And here's the thing:
Todd.
I was bound by certain page restrictions. Like I have no problem taking 1,000 pictures, but my publisher only allowed me so many. So it is what it is. I tell people like, I get it. You're going to tell me what's wrong with it by what's not there, as opposed to saying, hey, what's good about what is there. So I kind of just dismiss those people. Like I don't have a recipe for a Big Mac in there. Does that mean it's a horrible book? Like it
Yes.
it just drives me nuts.
No.
So
Hey, one last thing.
Hell yeah.
Your logo. Okay. It's got the star with the flame
yeah.
near and dear to your heart. Explain the logo for me.
So the logo, the last name Estela in Latin is star. But
Estrella.
Estrella, that's right.
Estrella.
And the actual colorized version of that logo, the colorized version of that logo, the colors are significant.
What, you're not prepared? Okay.
Yeah, so the colors are significant. It's black and red. Yeah, it's on the Swiss Army knife. It's black and red and it's gold. Black and red, Fairfield University colors, alma mater.
All right.
Black and red, Sayoc colors. The gold represents the patch from the Wilderness Learning Center, and this is actually the North Star. So I tell people it's like your training is like the constellations, right? The constellations are always going to be there. Your training is always going to be there. And if you remember your training, it's going to give you the direction you need in life, just like the star. It's a flaming star, a burning star, a star that's dangerous because you can train to be dangerous. You can train to be a guide. You can train to provide warmth to people, just like fire, right? So there's a lot of symbolism in here. I've got to give a shout out to Tuan Raff, who designed it.
Comic book guy,
Yeah.
fantastic artist.
Nice. Awesome.
And he said, listen, when you think of what you want to eventually represent your company, he goes, don't let it just be something that's so superficial. He's like, it's got to have a lot of layers. So I thought about it. I'm like, okay, alma mater, Wilderness Learning Center, my last name, Sayoc colors, everything just hit. And I was contemplating, like, do I want to put my name in there? But it's like, I don't want to have my name in there. I want the symbol to represent
brand.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
And Steve's he's a designer. He's a guy. So
I know a bit about it.
He ran me through some different logos, like the FedEx logo. And I'm sure, Steve could put up a picture on the podcast with the FedEx logo.
Sure.
But it, I didn't know there was an arrow in there. There's an arrow in the FedEx logo. And they were like, it won all sorts of designs. I was like, I just want my damn package. I had no idea.
It's brilliant, man.
But it's like some of these logos are just like Amazon, the A to Z.
Yeah.
That looks like an eggplant.
Smiley face.
Oh yeah.
I mean, all of this stuff is that's the difference. I'll soapbox it for a second. That's the difference between hiring someone that doesn't know design and that's someone that has done it for 20 or 30 or 40 years, right? Someone that has the understanding to do things intentionally. And that's the thing that, I mean, again, like I tie my design work to jiu-jitsu now. Like there are absolutely connections about the things that I do in my profession and what I do on the mats. Like it's legitimately, like, absolutely, there are definitely parallels there.
Crossover.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. So it's, I mean, that's the difference, right?
Very cool.
And to have it done intentionally, some people may not ever know the story, right? But when it all comes down to it, if it's something that you can remember, and something that makes sense and it speaks to what you do, then it's going to be there for a long time.
Love it.
Longevity.
Love it.
Yeah.
So we've been talking for an hour and 26 minutes and 21 seconds.
That's it?
I think we surpassed Dr. Larry.
We did.
He might be pissed.
Fuck you, Dr. Larry. Love you, Larry.
Might be.
Hope you're enjoying Florida.
Love Larry.
We didn't even get into like all the times that you schlocked me at my white belt test.
Ooh.
We didn't there's so much we could still talk about.
We've got already going to be fucking years of
we don't need to
editing
talk
this.
about that.
I'd love to hear it.
It's all like building. It's building character.
It truly was.
And there's
building
always a part
character.
2 on this thing. We can
do part twos. That's cool. But Kevin, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, man.
That's awesome. 101 Skills You Need to Survive in the Woods by Kevin Estela. The most effective wilderness know-how on fire making, knife work, navigation, shelter, food, and more. Founder of the Kevin Estela Wilderness Education There is a foundation.
There's a fund, yeah,
and as well. So, anything you want to plug?
Yeah, let's do the plugs, man. We got to do that.
I guess we'll start with that since we mentioned it. Estela Wilderness Education Fund sends underprivileged kids in Bristol to summer camp programs. Awesome. So we recently did a fundraiser in honor of Marty. We brought the fund just shy of $20,000 total to date. So that means that there's going to be a good amount of money that's going to be sending at least 6 kids to summer camp programs this summer that otherwise wouldn't be able to afford them.
Outstanding.
And it goes right back to where I learned how to do a lot of the outdoor stuff with my dad. So it's a legacy type of thing that I started years ago. Indian Rock. Hell yeah.
I was there many times.
Hell yeah. So I guess I could plug that. I mean, obviously I'll plug Sayoc. I think everyone should train in Sayoc. You should round out your blade game with some grappling. Even though we have stick grappling, it doesn't hurt to get good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training. Firearms training, 100%. Don't just learn the safety of the gun. Learn how to actually run the gun, transitioning from targets, drawing from concealment, things like that.
Any particular place that you like to train?
Sayoc Tactical Group, SIG Academy. I'm going out to Gunsight on the Jeff Cooper Foundation Scholarship in August. I love it all. I love firearms training. I think it takes me to a different place mentally. I love it. Gossman Knives, they are the ones that make my knife, the Polaris. They also make the one that you showed me.
I have one.
Yeah, you do.
I do.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Prometheus Design Works. Listen, I hate the term brand ambassador and like Instagram fame and all that, but Prometheus Design Works is one of my sponsors. They're good friends. There are so many people I could just drop names left and right. I'll just tell people, listen, if you look at the stuff that I have online, if you have any questions, ask me. I don't promote anything that I don't use. I never want to equip a person with garbage or something that I wouldn't use personally. Like, I think that those are totally phonies. I'd rather say, like, look, I used it here, I used it there, I still use it. There's a reason why. No incentive. Like, there's no like, buy this, you're gonna make me like 10 cents on a dollar. Like, if like my affiliate store, I'll tell people like, yeah, I'm maybe gonna make $5 off of like a $500 sale.
KevinEstela.com.
Yeah, but quite honestly, if you find a better price, buy it. You know,
Cool.
I'm cool with that.
Cool. So we're gonna plug Phantom Workshops.
Of course.
Okay, awesome T-shirts,
Hell yeah.
face coverings for this COVID-19.
Yeah.
Okay, we got some good stuff. That's Steve's little side project there with his son.
Yeah.
And they're coming up with some really cool stuff. So Phantom Workshops, IPD Jiu-Jitsu, and this podcast is for the people, sponsored by the people. So again, thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Mike Garcia, for kind of just sitting in, listening, kind of hanging out. All right. But yeah, this was super cool. So
yeah. Awesome.
Peace and love. We out.
Off we go.